What's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today doing a Fluffal Frightfur deck profile. So I'm really excited to do this for you guys because this deck is an awesome fusion OTK deck that can make some really insane boss monsters to help you go in for game. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards, like getting your name description in a single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your patron. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Fluffal Dog. This card is basically the Stratos of the deck. If this card is normal or special summoned from your hand, you can add an Edgem Saber or Fluffal monster from your deck to your hand, except another copy of this card, which is a really good effect to get the exact card you need so you can go in for your fusion plays. We then play 3 copies of Fluffal Penguin. Fluffal Penguin is a definite 3 on the deck and one of the best cards in the entire deck. That during your main phase, you can special summon a Fluffal monster from your hand, except another copy of this card, which is a super useful effect to be able to get one of your Fluffal monsters on your side of the field. But this card has a really insane effect that if this card is sent to the graveyard as a fusion material for a fusion summon for a Frightfur fusion monster, you get to draw 2 cards and then discard a card, which is a great effect to be able to help you dig into the deck. We then play 2 copies of Fluffal Dolphin. Dolphin's really good as a 2 in the deck because this card is a water monster that you can actually use with your copy of Penguin to help you make Bahamut Shark so you can bring out a copy of Toad, which is just a really good effect. I love this card as a 2 in the deck and it's a really awesome card. We then play 2 copies of Fluffal Bear. Fluffal Bear is a great card in this deck because it helps you get to your copy of Toy Vendor extremely quickly because you can send this card from your hand to the graveyard to set a Toy Vendor directly from your deck to your spell and trap card zone, which is a great effect because it doesn't even search it, it actually sets it onto your side of the field, which is great because your opponent can't even hit it with an Ash, which is really cool. We then play a single copy of Fluffal Wings. Fluffal Wings is a good 1 of the deck. You really don't need any more than a single copy of this card because it's so easy to get to now. It's really a great card to help you just draw into the deck, and it's one of the most powerful draw cards in the entire game. We then play a single copy of Fluffal Sheep. Fluffal Sheep is great as a 1 of in this build. I really only feel like you need a single copy of this card because it helps you basically have a second use out of your copy of Fluffal Dog, because it has the ability, if you control a Fluffal monster, then you can special summon this card from your hand and then return 1 other Fluffal monster you control back to your hand, which is usually going to be your copy of Fluffal Dog that you're going to bounce back to your hand and then summon during the follow-up turn, which is a great effect. We then play a single copy of Fluffal Octopus. Octopus is a good 1 of in the build and just helps you in so many different ways, because when this card is normal or special summon, you can target 1 Fluffal or Edgem monster in your graveyard and add it back to your hand. And if this card is sent to the graveyard as a fusion material for a fusion summon of a Frightfur fusion monster, then you can target up to 2 of your banished monsters and return them back to the graveyard, which is a pretty good effect so you can get multiple uses out of your copy of Wing. We then play 3 copies of Edgem Chain. Edgem Chain is insanely powerful and a definite 3 of in this build. This card is insanely good in the deck and has a really good effect that if this card is sent from the hand or the field to the graveyard, then you can add a Frightfur card from your deck to your hand, which is usually going to be a copy of Patchwork that you're going to search off this card. This card is a definite 3 of in the build. We're then playing 2 copies of Edgem Scythe. Edgem Scythe is a really good 2 of in this particular build because it lets you fusion summon during your opponent's turn, which is a crazy powerful effect. We then play a single copy of Sabers. Sabers is really good as a 1-of, but you only really need a single copy of this card because it's super easy to get to in this build. And if this card is in your graveyard, you can place a card from your hand on top of your deck and then special summon this card in defense position back to your side of the field. And the crazy thing is usually cards with effects like that banish themselves, but this card doesn't. So every turn you can bring this card back, which is really insane. We then play 2 copies of Eldritch the Golden Lord. This card is a really awesome 2 of the deck and is super good to be able to work with your copies of your Toy Vendor, and it's a really insane boss monster to actually make in this deck. I love this tech card in the build, and I really like 2 of the Golden Gucci Lord in this build because it's just a really insane boss monster to help you get your copy of Toy Vendor in the graveyard while also getting a big boss monster on the field to help you OTK your opponent. We then play 3 copies of Psyframe Gear Gamma. This card is really good to stop your opponent from hand trapping you while you're going in for all of your plays. We then play a single copy of Driver to go along with that Gamma because you got to play 1 copy of Driver to be able to use Gamma. So this card is a really good 1-of in the deck. You never want to see this card in your hand, but it's a really good card in this build. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to start off with a single copy of Frightfur Fusion. This card is basically Miracle Fusion for the deck, and is a really good one-of in this build. It's super searchable, and it's just a really awesome card in this deck. We then play a single copy of Frightfur Repair. Frightfur Repair is a great card for its graveyard effect that you can manage this card from your graveyard to be able to special summon a Fluffal or Edge monster from your hand. You're never going to be using it for its first effect, but it's a really good one-of in the deck to be able to send off your copy of Cruel Whale. We then play 2 copies of Royal Penguin's Garden. This card is a really good card to be able to search out your copy of Penguin directly from the deck, because it has the ability, when this card is activated, you can add a Penguin card from your deck to your hand, which is an insanely powerful effect to be able to search out your copy of Fluffal Penguin off this card's effect. We then play 3 copies of Polymerization. Polymerization is the main way they're going to be fusing in this deck, and it's a really good 3-of in this particular build because you always want to see it. It is searchable off your copy of Patchwork, but it's still a really good 3-of to play in this deck, so you can go in for multiple fusion plays a turn. We then play 3 copies of Foolish Burial Goods. Foolish Burial Goods is pretty much the Rhoda for the deck, because you're always going to be sending your copy of Toy Vendor to the graveyard off this effect to be able to search out one of your Edgem Sabers or your Fluffal monsters from your deck to your hand, which is just really good for this deck. We're then playing 3 copies of Frightfur Patchwork. Frightfur Patchwork is insane as a 3 on this deck. It lets you add an Edgem monster and a Polymerization from your deck to your hand, which is a +1. I love that about this card. It's such a powerful card to be able to directly get you to your copy of Polymerization and any of your Edgem monsters that you need. I love this card, and it's a definite 3-of in this build. We're then playing 3 copies of Toy Vendor. Toy Vendor is insane in this deck, and basically what the entire deck revolves around. I love this card, and it's such a powerful card. It has the ability that once per turn, you can discard a card to draw a card, and then show it. And if it's a Fluffal monster, you can special summon 1 monster from your hand. Otherwise, discard the card you drew. And if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can add an Edgem Saber or a Fluffal monster from your deck to your hand, which is an insanely powerful effect to be able to use with Foolish Burial Goods to send it to the graveyard, or with your copies of your Eldritch the Golden Lord to be able to send to the graveyard to be able to get you a search. I love that about this card, and it makes it such a powerful card in this deck to basically use as the Rhoda for the deck whenever it touches the graveyard. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to start off with a single copy of Frightfur Sabretooth. Sabretooth is really good in this deck as a 1-of. You only really need a single copy of this card, because usually when you make this card, you've won the game. It has a great effect that it takes a Frightfur Infusion monster plus 1 or more Fluffal and or Edgem monsters to make this card, but you're always going to use 3 monsters to make this card to make the maximum effect of this card. Then when this card is fusion summoned, you can target a Frightfur monster in your graveyard and special summon it. And all Frightfur monsters you control gain 400 attack, and if this card was fusion summoned using 3 or more fusion materials, it cannot be destroyed by battle by card effect, which is a crazy powerful effect. This card gives itself so much protection and gets absolutely massive. We then play 2 copies of Cruel Whale. Cruel Whale is really good as a 2-of in the deck. I don't feel like you need 3 copies of this card, but it's really insane. If this card is fusion summoned, you can destroy 1 card on both players' fields. And once per turn, quick effect, you can target one fusion monster that you control and send a Frightfur card from your deck or extra deck to the graveyard, except another copy of this card. And if you do, the targeted monster gains attack equal to half the original attack until the end of the turn, which is a really powerful effect to be able to send your copy of Repair from your deck to the graveyard to be able to use that effect. We then play just a single copy of Frightfur Kraken. This card is an OTK piece, and I love this card as a 1-of in the deck. You can attack twice, and it's a really cool card effect as well, that once per turn, you can target 1 monster that your opponent controls and send it to the graveyard, but this card cannot attack directly the turn you activate this effect. And it can make a second attack during each battle phase, and once per turn at the end of the battle phase, it can shift itself into defense position, which is a great effect if it did battle. We then play a single copy of Frightfur Wolf. This card is the OTK piece of the deck. This card is insane, and it has a really awesome effect. It's one of my favorite cards in this entire deck, because it takes a copy of Edgem Saber plus 1 plus Fluffal monsters, which is insane because you can actually put as many as you want to into this card. But this card can attack a number of times each battle phase up to the number of fusion materials used for this card's fusion summon. So if you use 10 monsters to make this card, it can attack 10 times, which is absolutely crazy how many times this card can attack. We then play a single copy of Frightfur Tiger. Frightfur Tiger is a really good one of the deck. You can only control one of this card, which is why I just play one in this build. But when this card is fusion summoned, you can target cards on the field up to the number of fusion materials used for its fusion summon and destroy them. And then all Frightfur monsters you control gain 300 attack for each Fluffal monster and Frightfur monster that you control. So you can make your monsters get absolutely massive with this card's effects. I love this card as a one of the deck, and you really only need a single copy in this build. We then play a single copy of Bahamut Shark. Bahamut Shark is great because it's super easy to make with Penguin and Dolphin, or 2 copies of Penguin to be able to summon out your copy of Totally Awesome. Totally Awesome is a negate for the deck and a very welcome addition to this deck. Super easy to make in this build and a really good card. We then play a single copy of Access Code because Access Code can pop multiple cards on the field and it's just a really insane boss monster. We then play a single copy of Appaloosa. Appaloosa is a really insane one of the deck that's really easy to put on the field, and it can actually give you multiple monster negates, which is really nice. We then play a single copy of Nightmare Unicorn. Nightmare Unicorn is great in this deck as a one-of because it can spin cards. 1 copy of Nightmare Phoenix because it can pop spells and traps. 1 copy of Lambda. Lambda is really good as a one-of in this deck to be able to use your copies of Gamma even though you control monsters while you control Lambda, which is really nice. 1 copy of IP Masquerena. IP is really good to be able to make your copy of Appaloosa or your copy of Nightmare Unicorn during the opponent's turn. We then play a single copy of Cross Sheep to round out the extract. This card is great as a one of deck because we're going to be fusion summoning a lot and making use of the effect that when you fusion summon, you get to special summon a level 4 lower monster from your graveyard, which is going to get you additional materials onto your side of the field to be able to make more fusion plays. I love that about this card, and it's a really good one of in the deck. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy. This deck is super fun to be able to play. If you guys have never played Fluffal Frightfur, I highly recommend it because it's super fun to OTK your opponent with this deck. It's just a really powerful deck. It's really fun to be able to play and really, really good. So anyways, guys, that's it for this one. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can come part of our notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.